Hello everyone, my name is Teacher Gemma and welcome back to my channel. This video will be about the pros and cons of working for Wales English. So let's get straight into it. We will start with the pros. Pro number one, the platform. So the platform is just great. It's really interactive and it has a lot of good features. You can type on there, you can draw on there, and most importantly, you can screen share, which means that you can prepare your own materials or have maybe a video or a song or anything like that, and you can show it to the students and they can see, and it's really great. It's a great thing to have, amazing tool to supplement learning, and it just makes the lessons more interesting. So the way you teach the lesson will not be the same way that another person would teach that lesson, and I think that's a really nice thing to have in these companies, to be able to put your own stamp on the lessons. Pro number two is about regular classes. So regular classes are booked for 30 classes, which usually translates to 30 weeks. It's great. There's a lot of stability there, of course, for you. There are cancellations. We will go into that in my cons part of the video, but for the most part, regular classes are very stable and you can kind of predict your income because of it, because you know, you get a regular class, you see, okay, I'm at 1 out of 30, I know most likely I will have this class for the full 30 weeks. Very useful. On the subject of regular classes, also just having the regular classes for 15-minute and 25-minute slots, they're pretty nice times and the material does cover those times, so it doesn't ever feel like you have to really drag things out. Of course, if you are in a lesson with a student that is not leveled correctly, not assessed correctly, I mean, then it can be difficult, especially if they are way too advanced, but then you just extend, and there are so many ways you can do that, including using the screen share function in the platform. Okay, pro number three is the pay. So the pay is $18 for trial classes with a $5 conversion bonus for each student that signs up. And for regular classes, it is $18 to $26 and a $5 weekend incentive per class. So if you work on the weekends, you get $5 extra. The pay is pretty good for online ESL companies in general, and the company is pretty good. So those are two very important things that tie together. Oh, I did forget to mention you can qualify for pay raises towards the end of your contract and when your contract is being renewed. So depending on your performance will depend on any raises you might get. Okay, pro number four is communication. I have spoken about this in my last video, no, the one before that. You have your own teacher consultant who is your bridge between you and the company. They're just fantastic. Having someone you can talk to about any queries? I combined queries and worries into one. About any worries that you may have is just fantastic, and they handle scheduling for you and things like that too. Having a TC is just great. You can feel very alone in online ESL companies, and with Wales it definitely doesn't feel like that. The company is alive, it's breathing, and you talk to people and you work with colleagues, so the communication. Pro number five is class size. So I have worked in the past for a company where you had one teacher 4 students and one teacher 6 students, and with Wales it's usually one teacher 2 students. So I personally think this is a big pro. I find bigger class sizes for me they are fun, but I can't really get to know the students as well as I would like on an individual basis, but you still have that peer-to-peer interaction with the two of them. So that's why I love the class sizes. I think having 2 students is just a golden number. And for any of you who are kind of new to online teaching that don't want to jump into the deep end with big class sizes, because big class sizes require different management skills in my opinion, yes, I would highly recommend going for a company with a 1 teacher and 2 student rule. Sometimes you do have 1 teacher and 1 student, but it's very rare. Don't go into Wales expecting that you will get that. If you're looking for one-on-one classes, it is better to apply for a company that specializes in one-on-one classes. VIP Kid is one of them. I think Dada is another one as well. So, yes. Okay, now we have gone through all the great cons. Okay, I think that's all of the great pros. So let's go into the cons now. The biggest con for me, by far, is having a lesson that can be a lesson unbooked. I'll go through a little bit about what this means. So with trial classes, which is primarily what you'll be teaching before you do the training, you will get some slots on your schedule will be booked, but they won't have students' names attached to them. What this means is that even though the slot is booked and you should be available during that time, no student might show up and you get paid less for that. So this is what likely would happen in that situation. So you would wake up for your class and you would see that it's unbooked, and you would have to be present. You'd have to go to the Wales English platform, log in, enter the classroom at your scheduled time, wait 1 minute, and then you check again to make sure that it's still unbooked, and then you can leave the classroom. But you have to wait a minute. Now, you might look and be like, well, why is that a bad thing? It's just like time off. But you don't get paid the full amount for that. So you get paid 20% of your base pay rate for whatever it is. So if it's a trial class, you get 20% of your trial class rate, which is a lot less money than you would get if it was just a booked trial class. Okay, you obviously don't teach during that time, so I understand it being less, but 20% is peanuts, and you essentially lose the entire slot of time, because it's very difficult for you to organize your time so short notice unless you work for Palfish, Cambly, or any of those like on-call platform apps, I suppose. I still obviously get more booked than unbooked, but it's still a con that they exist, so just bear that in mind. There is also another finish type, which is student no-show, which gives you 50%. So in this case, students are still on your schedule, but they just don't show up, and you have to wait the entire time of that lesson, and then you get 50% pay. Now, I think I was just very lucky with my old company. My old company gave 100% with that, so to me it's a con. For most people it will be a con. The only thing I can say to lessen the blow of the con is that it doesn't happen that often. Con number 2 is the long-term commitment, which is also a plus. Just for some people this can be a con. If you want your schedule to change week by week, this is not the best company for you, to be honest. You should look elsewhere, maybe at like Magic Ears or a company where the company book you and you don't have the same students regularly, because usually if you do, you have to stick to a set schedule. For some people who are parents or who just have other jobs, this might not always work out for you, but if your schedule is pretty reliable and stable, then Wales English is a great source of income. Okay, con number 3 is evaluations. So you get all of your lessons are recorded, and every month there will be an evaluation done based on one of your classes. For some people this is a con. It's purely for your own professional development, but if you want to feel a bit more independent, a bit less pressure on you, then maybe Wales is not the best fit. I do want to emphasize it is for professional development, and I do know a lot of teachers want to hear feedback to help them improve. For those types of teachers, this is not a con. For the other types of teachers who have loads of experience and just kind of want to do their own thing, and they don't want to feel that pressure of being watched or having to meet like a certain standard all of the time. I mean, you're gonna have to meet a standard anyway, but if you want the standard to be your own standard, then Wales English might not be the best for you. This might be a con for you. Okay, con number 4 is the penalty system. So sadly there is a penalty system, and I say sadly because even though I rarely ever take leave unless it's really for an emergency, it's just never nice to know that there's a penalty system in place, even if you don't think it's going to affect you directly. Penalty just means that you will get fined essentially for missing classes. Of course there are exceptions, and of course especially having that TC is great, because if you do have an emergency, you can liaise with your TC and you can talk to them about how to solve that problem. And they won't just hand out fines here, there and everywhere. They are very understanding, and you do get options for short-term leave, long-term leave, and emergency leave. Okay, and con number 5 is homework. So students actually get homework and you have to grade it. I put this as a con because even though it is quite fun, I think sometimes it is more work that you don't get paid for. So it doesn't take long, I would say a minute or so for homework per student. Of course, the more regular classes you have, the more homework will pile up. And they have recently changed the homework policy, so you don't need to hand in homework for all lessons. There's a different policy that they're rolling out, so this can very easily change in the future, but it's just a con people should be aware of, I think. So there we have it, my pros and cons list for Wales English. I tried to be as honest and transparent as possible with this. I hope it is useful to you, and if it has made you decide to apply to Wales because you've looked at the cons and you've thought, well, you know, they're not that bad, please feel free to use my referral link below. My verdict would be it is well worth it. Like, the pros for me overwhelmingly outweigh the cons, and the cons are just a way for just be aware of them. Be aware that these things do exist, that this can happen, and even if it doesn't happen often, it's just good for you to know it can and to prepare for that as well. So bear those things in mind, and if you do decide to apply, like I said, please feel free to contact me. I will help you. Send me your CV, I will go through it, and I will help you get through the application process. Thank you so much everyone for watching, I really appreciate it. If you want to know anything else, please comment below. If there's any pros or cons that I have forgotten to mention about Wales that you know of, comment them. I would be really interested to see what you all have to say as well, because this was a very brief list of pros and cons really. Thank you all so much, and I will see you for my next video. Bye!